her two guests.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm going to try and juggle a microphone, a clicker, a computer, and 2 kids. So hopefully I do a good job. Tough act to follow, and thank you for the introduction. In case you don't know me or haven't seen me or my kids on the seawall, my name is Bree Galbraith, and I was born and raised in False Creek Co-op. I returned to the co-op as a young mother when my children, who you see behind me, were 1 and 3, and they're now 9 and 11. When I was asked to speak as somewhat of a subject matter today, I thought 2 things. 1, finally the City of Vancouver is recognizing me for my Creeker for Life status. And 2, I hope that I can present a view that isn't merely my own lived experience, and one that can add to the discussion and the challenges and opportunities that we face now as a community moving forward. So I decided to talk about something, somewhat of a universal theme, and that was making cookies. So while I arrived into this community in 1981, July 1st, it wasn't until 13 years later when I was making cookies at a friend's house in Kitsilano did I really realize that my understanding of home was vastly different than her own. We were short sugar, a 1/4 cup to be exact. And while she threw up her hands in defeat, I thought, not a problem, just go ask your neighbor. And she said, I don't know my neighbor. And I was like, okay, well then ask your other neighbor. She says, I don't know them either. So there we go, 2 things here. So it took a while for me to understand this concept. I asked her about every house on the street. Still, she knew no one. Well, who do you go to if you don't have ketchup or you don't have milk? It finally dawned on me that her idea of home was contained within 4 walls, whereas mine existed between 2 bridges, a set of railroad tracks I was not allowed to go down, and an ocean. And that within that, I felt personally invested and responsible for everything within those walls. And that included the turtles, the plants that wasn't allowed to pick, the gardener that planted the plants, the waterfall, the adventure playground that used to exist right here, the assisted living facility, the store around the corner where I could buy ice cream sandwiches all on my own. And these walls also expanded as I grew. So I became socially, environmentally, and politically invested, not just in my neighborhood, but in many more in society as a whole. I felt a connection early on to something much larger than myself, a community, and I knew my place within it. There we go. Moving forward, yes. Moving forward, I decided to further embed myself into the fabric of False Creek South and attend Emily Carr University. Eventually, I obtained a master's degree in design, coming up with a graduation project that focused on supporting unpaid family caregivers of people with chronic conditions. This project was dear to my heart, as after my mom suffered a fall and became quadriplegic, our co-op created a space in our apartment building so that my dad didn't have to haul her up in her wheelchair, stair after stair, day after day. Then after she passed away, I had a casserole, fruit towers, and pastries delivered to my door for weeks on end from co-op members, and I think my dad still enjoys this luxury almost 2 years later. What my research showed me in the early stages of this project was that people in the community were more than willing to be interviewed, share their stories and ideas in hopes that they would benefit others. And there's also great need to support people so they can age in place in our community. At first, the project wasn't understood by my professors. They thought it was too ambiguous and thought I was relying too heavily on a community when they thought people never come out to help for anything. I told them I've got this. What made so much sense to me my whole life, support from others in your community, seemed like a crazy new concept to so many people at the art institution. Now that I've moved up the ranks to teach at Emily Carr, I find myself referring to my living situation daily. Just today in class, one of my students from New York mentioned she doesn't meet anyone from Vancouver, and how people are so proud to be New Yorkers. It's like a badge they wear, it's part of their identity. I told her to walk along the seawall if she wants to meet anyone like that, because we all exist. Oh yeah, I'm getting the hang of it. In addition to being a teacher in Vancouver who can walk to work, after moving back to my co-op as an adult with my own children, I'm also a single mother with 1 income in Vancouver who can shove her children out the door and know that they will make it to school safely. I would need a whole year to talk about the benefits I've seen from raising my children in False Creek South especially in the co-op, but instead I will tell you what I've heard from teachers, coaches, and community center staff for the past 12 years about the children who grow up here. I'm really multitasking. I've heard they are the most socialized, thoughtful, and healthy children they've ever come across. In fact, I've been told that you can tell a co-op kid right away by kindergarten because they already know how to share. And this isn't a coincidence. It's a byproduct of the environment and the community that was planned in the 1970s and has now reached a crossroad in which decisions are being made about its future and the development of the area as the land leases expire. And it's not just me this affects or all of us, it's also children. I'd like to introduce you to my children, Dario and Oakland, and they would like to say a few words about growing up here. Ready? There you go. You can do it. You can do it.
Hi, my name is Dario, and I'm 11-year-old, and this is my brother Oakland. In my co-op, I feel safe and welcome. Every day I can walk to school knowing that I will not be injured or nothing will happen to me. My mom's a single mom, and I know she has to work really hard to pay for our food, our dance, and so we can stay healthy. All my other mom's friends cannot afford to live in Vancouver, so they have left to other places, so we don't get to see them anymore, and that's not really fair. If I were in charge of what False Creek would look like in 100 years, or in the future, I would put solar panels on the roofs for cleaner air and more energy, and
You're doing really good.
and I would also make more co-ops so that more children would get to live how I live, no matter how many parents they have or how much money they have. All the kids in our co-op are different colors, different religions, and different likes. But when we were playing together, we were all on the same team, except for when we were playing Capture the Flag. This is my home, and I wouldn't want to change it in a million years. So I hope the people that make the decisions care enough about us to make sure we're part of the plan for False Creek's future. Thank you.
Thanks, Lily. Okay. My kids and I have described a utopian vision. We're very aware of that. But we're also aware that we're living in it. So the model worked, and it continues to work. Just last week, I introduced myself to my new neighbors who are moving into the co-op externally with their 2 daughters. They look positively elated to be co-op members. I wish this fortune on so many others, because the burden of finding secure, affordable housing is not easy to carry. And when it's finally lifted, you can get on with living and just not surviving. I am entirely hopeful that forums like this will give the spotlight to people like those in Replan who have a vision of increased density that could potentially allow for so many more people in my position to be housed. Personally, my little family up here would not be here today if we weren't living in our co-op. It's because of the contribution of my community that I've been able to meet my potential in life. I've pursued higher education, I'm financially secure after several years of struggling, and I'm able to provide a safe, happy home for my children all on my own. My children have never been fearful our landlord will kick us out. We haven't had to move 5 to 7 times a year, just like my friends, or drive all the way across the city to try and stay in the same school district. Also, we've always had food on the table and $1 million view right outside of our doorstep. So, in the end, I hope that my fear that I provide too narrow a view didn't materialize, because I'm a product of the False Creek South Vision enacted in the 1970s, a success story in a series of success stories that we need to celebrate and recognize as a community. We are a living microcosm of the City of Vancouver's mandate for healthy, sustainable living. We have at least 4 people we can reach out to at any time of need. We have neighbors who can grow into their late 90s with people checking on them daily, and children who have a sense of belonging and responsibility in their community. An enviable situation to live in and maintain for generations to come. So I'd like to end by thanking the visionaries who designed our community originally, for our extraordinary privilege of living here, the people who call False Creek South their home, including yourselves, and hope that my generation has the mental acuity to see that the model has been tested and that I, a second-generation guinea pig raising third-generation guinea pigs, have flourished within it. So thank you.